Important that you know how to get symbols, where to get symbols. So this is the BoardMaker software, and you have some options. There is an online version of BoardMaker now, and it's an annual subscription. So it's $99 a year for a personal subscription. One of the things about BoardMaker Online is that you can only save to their cloud. And how many of you are current BoardMaker, like on the disk users? Yeah, several of you. So you guys, the rest of you who don't know this, don't worry about it, but I'm gonna talk to them. Those of you who have the BoardMaker disk, you can't open the files that are created in BoardMaker Online because they're a different file format, which I personally find really annoying. There are a few things, if you're a current BoardMaker user, you might find that you don't like about BoardMaker Online. I have found that myself, so I am kicking and screaming and digging my heels in and doing as much as I possibly can do to avoid switching to BoardMaker Online, because I don't find that I like it as much as the disk version, but I also know that they're not really kind of supporting their disk version quite so much anymore. So if your disk starts to die, yeah, right, my disk is kind of starting to die, and I'm gonna replace it, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope. I think I'm gonna have to switch pretty soon. So just for those of you who are gonna have to make that switch, just know, I think it's gonna be painful for us. However, so $99 a year, there are some cool things. I mean, they've got an online sharers portion that you can also join for free, and I'll mention that a little bit later too. But you can go online and access stuff that other people have made, and all of that kind of good stuff. So that's all great. I'm not quite thrilled with how it runs yet online, and hopefully it will get better. It's gotten a little bit better than it was a few years ago, so I'm holding out hope that, right, it will continue. So there's that option. But you can also still purchase the disk that you can physically put in your computer, right? If you're like me and you have newer Macs, well, then you have to make sure you have the USB disk thing, because Macs don't come with a disk drive anymore. There's no place to put the CD, right? But we can get around that. It's $520, these are the Canadian prices, $520 for version 6 of BoardMaker, that's the most recent disk version. But if you want to get all of the addendums, and let me explain about addendums. So way back in the dark ages, BoardMaker used to come on 4 little floppy disks, remember those kind of hard, right? And there were 4 of them, and you installed it, and then CD-ROMs came along. Well, during the old days of the discs, and before we had really good internet and stuff, every couple of years, Mayor Johnson would make an addendum of symbols that you could buy on another little disc. And they got the ideas for symbols because people would email them and say, we need a symbol for such and such. We need a symbol for the, and so they add to the symbol library. So now there are addendums over 12 years worth. And so if you're gonna buy BoardMaker, buy the addendum, because it gives you significantly more symbols to work with. If you currently have BoardMaker and you don't have the addendum, it's worth purchasing the addendum because you get thousands of symbols more. So if you buy BoardMaker with all of the addendum libraries included, it's $670, okay? You can author your own content with BoardMaker, right? That's why I like BoardMaker. If you've used BoardMaker, that's probably part of why you use BoardMaker too. You can use it for more than just individual symbols that you're laminating and cutting out. You can make books, you can make all curricular stuff, right? Everything that I pretty much am gonna show you over the next few days, 2 days, are related to things I've made with BoardMaker. So there's that. There is also, however, something that's a bit newer, Symbol Sticks Prime. This is online subscription. It's $79 US a year, so it depends on what day you happen to be paying as to what you're actually paying. It's a web-based, so it's online, symbol search engine. You can create materials in there. They've added a bit to the software, and I haven't played with it recently. But you can make some things online. They have some templates. But you can also copy the symbols out of Symbol Sticks and use them in any documents that you want. And if you own BoardMaker, theoretically, you could take those pictures and add them to your BoardMaker library. That's a bit of a job. Like I want to hire somebody to sit for a week and do nothing more than, right, copy the 30,000 plus symbols, right? And that's what Symbol Sticks has that the Boardmaker program doesn't have, is many thousands of symbols more. And I was in there the other day looking at people, and they've got, you know, every pop culture person, many that I didn't even know who they were, and I'm scrolling through, but they're like popular people that, you know, all the cool kids are talking about on Twitter or whatever, right? Snapchat or wherever they're talking about it. So they've got lots and lots of current symbols. So that's kind of nice to check out. What I'm doing now is I'm kind of using Symbol Stick symbols and Boardmaker, right? So if I can't find a symbol that I like in Boardmaker, I'll go to Symbol Sticks and I'll pull from there, and I kind of am using both tools right now. And I find it's worth it for me because I like the extra symbols, frankly, right? So there's that option. So you can choose that. Those are really the two best options in terms of big authoring of symbol-based content. Those are your choices. If you're using photographs, so if you've got an individual who doesn't get picture communication symbols yet, but you know, photographs are good, and you don't want to take photographs of everything, you can also get software that adds into your Boardmaker. So there's the Picture This disc. Professional edition is $97, and it's just 5,000 photos. And you can use it in PowerPoint or Word or whatever you want. Or you can get Picture This photos in Boardmaker libraries for $89, and it's the same 5,000 pictures, but it goes into your Boardmaker library. So if you're already using Boardmaker, this adds photos into your Boardmaker, okay? You can also take digital photos. Right? The thing to remember though about digital photos is that you need to have good, clear pictures, right? Bad pictures aren't gonna be very good visual supports because they're not very understandable. So solid, contrasting backgrounds, not a whole bunch of other things in the background. If you're using online images, right? We've got Google Images, so it's really handy a lot of times. Oh, I need an image for Science World. Let me just Google Science World and I'll get a picture. Sometimes those images are good and sometimes they're really grainy or they're not very sharp or there's a bunch of other things in them. So be discriminate in your selection. Be careful about what you're choosing and choose good quality images. Our whole purpose with visual supports is to help individuals understand stuff. If we give them pictures that aren't very clear, we're not really helping them understand anything, right? With digital photos, if you're using Boardmaker, you can take photos of anything and also add those to your Boardmaker library. So if you're kind of a power Boardmaker user, you probably already know how to do that. If you're kind of a newer Boardmaker user or maybe a little bit technophobic, you can actually take any image from anywhere, put it into your Boardmaker library. So I could take a picture of the family dog, add it to my Boardmaker library, the dog's name is Rex, and now when I search Rex, that family's dog comes up, right? So if you don't know how to do that, the directions are on the Mayor Johnson website. So they still do have decent end user support there, right? So that's a good place to go, okay? Other things to think about purchasing, laminators. Spend money on a laminator. Do not go to Staples, Walmart, department store don't buy a laminator there. They don't get hot enough. They're not powerful enough. Your laminate falls off your symbols and it's a big waste, so don't do it. I learned the hard way and it took me a while. I bought a lot of laminators before I found the good one. Royal Sovereign makes really, really good pouch laminators and they're not cheap. They're usually a good few $100s. You can order them online. Sometimes they're on Costco. 3 weeks ago, there was one for sale, Costco online. I've had my Royal Sovereign laminator for probably 15 years, and I laminate a lot. And I've lent it to families who have laminated a lot. And I've used it with students. I've had students do projects, and I just bring the laminator in, and they do a project, and everybody has to laminate their work. And so I've had students lined up, 20 of them, you know, with sheets of laminate. So mine has got a lot of use, so it was a good investment. spend the money on a laminator if you're gonna laminate symbols. If you're in a school and your school has a laminator, great, use theirs. But otherwise, just buy a good laminator, it's worth it. Use laminate, so if you've got a pouch laminator like this one where you push the paper covered in laminate through, buy as thick a laminate as you can get. The usual kind of less expensive stuff is 3 millimeters thick. It's not really thick enough. Your symbols get crunched more easily, especially if we're talking about kids who tend to manhandle things a little bit, or maybe engage in some problem behavior and they don't like the math symbol and they grab it and they like crunch it and try to throw it away, right? 3 millimeter laminate is very crunchable. 5 to 7 millimeter laminate, still crunchable, but not quite so bad, right? It's a bit thicker and stronger. So get the thickest you can. Most local stores will sell 5 millimeters. That's often what I end up using, but if you really want like super strong, 7 millimeter, right? If you're making stuff for wet places, I'll show you later some visuals for like showers and the pool and stuff, well then you just laminate it 5 times through. My good old Royal Sovereign laminator, I laminate it once, I throw it back in another pouch of laminate, I throw it in again, a third patch of laminate, I throw it in again with a nice good edge around it, and you know, we're good to go. So those are things to think about. Laminate's not cheap, but you also don't want to have to redo it, right? It takes a lot of time laminating stuff, and if it's gonna peel off and you have to spend more money on more laminate to do it again, now it's more time and more money. So kind of spend the money at the outset and it'll take you less time, okay? Velcro. Don't buy it at the store. Don't go in Michael's, Staples, Walmart, wherever, where you get a little package of Velcro. Don't buy that, because it's way, 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 way more expensive than it should be. Purchase from hookloop.ca. I was saying to my partner last night, I really should just be getting kickbacks from like all of these people, but this is where I end up, right? These are my secrets. This is where I go when I need Velcro. I buy Velcro in great big rolls, massive rolls. So if you're a family and you don't think you'll need that much, you might find that eventually you do, but you know, pair up with another family and share a Velcro order, right? You can do that too. But if you purchase from Hook Loop, a 1 inch, so 1 inch thick loop or 1 inch thick hook Velcro, 25-yard roll for $41. And they ship it to you for free. Right, so even better. So think about how much 25 yards is compared to that tiny little bit that you get for $8 at the store that has, you know, 6 inches of Velcro on it altogether at most, right? You're way better off just buying a big roll. And if it lasts you 10 years, trust me, you'll use it. Eventually, you'll use it, right? Always, here's the how to use your Velcro hint. Always put the hook Velcro, that's the scratchy, rough stuff, on the back of your symbols. Don't put the soft stuff on your symbols, and there's a reason for this, because sometimes we want to use fabric, and the soft Velcro doesn't stick to the soft fabric. Only the hook Velcro sticks to the soft fabric. So if you follow the Velcro rule, this is a rule, all the visual support people who are in the know follow the Velcro rule. The rough Velcro goes on the symbol so that you can put your symbols on display fabric. And if you want to buy display fabric, you can buy it from Industrial Webbing, and it's Veltex brand Velcro laminated loop fabric for $13.50 a yard, and it's 60 inches wide, right? So that's a big chunk of Velcro cloth. There are 19 color options. Why do I say that? Well, because I have a number of families I've supported where I've kind of done a bit of sort of interior design a la visual supports, and they'll have wall space that's this big or sometimes even bigger, and we choose a color that goes with their decor. I've got a woman that I support. She's 35, she has her own home. She needs a lot of visual supports. Her home is kind of that like sort of nice sort of deep red kind of color. She's got this lovely sort of deep red velcloth that's on her wall. It all matches the decor, and all her symbols are there. right? So you can like have your symbols and make your home look nice too. And now all your symbols are up on the wall instead of a book, which means you're more likely to use them too, right? So that's where you go to buy VELCRO, right? And you can make it really look nice. Staple it up, but then you get just like framing from Lowe's or from Home Depot or whatever, and you can like frame it out. You can make it look really nice. All right, these things excite me, right? And then I have all my symbols up, and they're all alphabetized and categorized, and right, it's all very beautiful. These are the things that get me excited. Maybe not you, but I find it very thrilling. A few other things that you should think about in terms of materials. If you're gonna be cutting a lot of Velcro, it ruins scissors quickly. You can go to the craft store and get non-stick scissors. It's kind of like non-stick cookware, but they're non-stick scissors. If you look in sort of the scrapbooking area of Michael's, that's often where I find them. So that's useful. 35 millimeter slide pages. So if you remember in the old days, when we had photographic slide machines, like instead of a projector like this, you had little photographic slides that were in a carousel, right? And you clicked through. Some of us are remembering what that was like. Right, well, you can still get these plastic pages that used to be used to hold those slides. They're perfect for holding 2-inch by 2-inch symbols. So they're great for storage. I'm gonna show you about using these for scheduling later. These are very useful. You can usually find them in photo stores. If you can't physically find them in a store, you can get them off Amazon as well, right? So you can buy them online. The other thing that I buy a lot are these little things right here, these sort of small parts organizers that you can usually get in kind of the home fix-it area. I'll store symbols in there as well. So I've got an individual, for example, who has a monthly calendar that he's used since he was little and now he's big. And we have little tiny 1-inch symbols of regularly occurring activities. Respite, the library, swimming, school days, you know, big things that you would put on a monthly calendar. And so we copy whole pages. So we'll have a whole page of respite symbols and cut those up, and they go into one drawer. And a whole page of swimming symbols, and we cut those up, and they go into one drawer. And so now we've got all these little drawers, all labeled with their little symbols, all little symbols in the drawers. And at the beginning of every month, when he was little, he'd sit down with his mom, and they would plan out the month, and they would put what are school days, what are home days, when are we going swimming, when do you go to respite, all that kind of stuff. And they'd glue the symbols onto the calendar, right? And this held all the symbols until they were ready to use them. And now as an adult, he's almost 30. At the end of every month, he takes his calendar down himself, rips off the page. He knows what most of his month looks like. He goes in, plans his monthly calendar, gets his mom, brings her to the calendar. Is this right? Is there anything else I should know? Is essentially the message, right? He doesn't use speech, he's deaf, and he doesn't sign. And then she provides any additional information. And so they just use this, though, for storage of symbols, right? And they just make a whole whack of symbols, and then when the drawer is getting a little low, they print out some more, right? So this is a good tool just for organizing stuff, okay? So now you guys have a shopping list, so at the end of today, you guys can all go and spend some money, have fun.